Hello and welcome to Tête-à-Tête, France 24's flagship interview show. Our guest this week is the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, Karim Khan. He joins us from Kinshasa, the capital of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
You announced mid-October that you were renewing an investigation in this country, the DRC, focusing on allegations of crimes committed in the North Kivu province since early 2022. Since you made that announcement, fighting has been raging between the M23 rebel group, backed by Rwanda on one hand, and the Congolese army and its allies on the other hand, not only in North Kivu, but also into southern Kivu. In Kinshasa, you've met the president, Felix Tshisekedi, families of the victims. What is your message to them to stop the fighting and bring about justice?
Well, the message is exactly that the law has rules, that civilians can't be targeted. The allegations coming out of the east of the DRC from North Kivu are extremely serious. There's been alarm expressed by different parts of the United Nations, initiatives launched by the Human Rights Commission in Geneva, discussions in the Security Council and elsewhere. But the message has to resonate clearly that no party to a conflict, no belligerent, whether it's M23 and its allies or government troops and their allies, everybody must comply with these basic principles of international humanitarian law. And we have jurisdiction. The DRC made a second referral. There has been cycles of violence for decades in the DRC, and we are trying to put forward a new approach to deal comprehensively, holistically, with the impunity gap here in the DRC.
Right. According to the DRC's Prime Minister, she told the UN Human Rights Council this week in Geneva that some 7,000 people had died since January. Your court issued a statement in early February saying that thousands of persons have been wounded or killed in and around Goma. Is she having the right figure? Is this what you're hearing? Thousands of people killed.
Well, it's an awful tear in the fabric of society, very serious allegations. I'm not in a position to vouch for particular numbers, but what is clear, it does appear that Rome Statute crimes have been and are being committed in the east of the DRC. We are investigating those. Since October, the team has been here. We are trying to move forward. And importantly, what I've said is it's not just M23. We have allegations against the ADF. We have allegations with other armed groups in other parts of the DRC. And what we need to do is not repeat the mistakes of the past. Since 2004, my office has had cases, has prosecuted cases arising out of the DRC. There have been convictions, but the cycle of violence has not stopped. And what I mentioned to President Tshisekedi in 2023, when I signed a memorandum of understanding with him, was we can't keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So very importantly, next month, the DRC will host an international conference to create a special court for the DRC. This is the aim. And we will technically try to support that. And at the same time, we'll seek to move forward with our own responsibilities as a court of last resort to shoulder our responsibilities in relation to what we are investigating. But what we have to do is draw the poison from different warlords and different armed groups that are laying siege to the DRC, that are terrorizing different civilians in different parts of the country, and make sure they are subjected to accountability. And it's about time, because this has been since the day of Dag Hammarskjöld, the second Secretary General, being shot down. There have been cycles of violence in the DRC, and so we're trying to have a new approach.
Right. You mentioned warlords, rebel groups. You did not mention Rwanda. The neighboring country has been accused in UN reports by Western countries of not only supporting the M23, but actually having thousands of troops on the ground. We know Rwanda is not a party to the Rome Treaty. Have you exchanged with its president, Paul Kagame? Have you asked to go and meet him to Kigali to confront him with this evidence?
I'm not going to reveal what communications I may or may not have had with different leaders. What's clear is we have jurisdiction in relation to any crimes committed on the territory of the Democratic Republic of Congo, whether they're committed by the nationals of state parties or non-nationals, members from non-state parties. If there are Rome Statute crimes on the territory of the DRC, we will act. Now, of course, one is aware of the numerous allegations, but what distinguishes my office and the International Criminal Court from NGOs or from other mechanisms is we don't make determinations lightly. We make determinations based upon evidence. And so we are conducting, as we do in all our situations, a forensic process, collecting the evidence. And if the evidence shows individuals have committed crimes, we will act. And similarly, we will not act if the evidence is not available. But we are taking it seriously. We're moving with purpose. We're trying to build new partnerships. I've just come from a meeting with NGOs and civil society, and I made it very clear we need to work together with the government, with NGOs, with state parties, with non-state parties, to actually deal with this scourge of criminality that has bedeviled the DRC for far, far too long.
The problem with collecting forensic evidence is that you're speaking from Kinshasa. It's 2,500 kilometers away from Goma, the capital of North Kivu, Bukavu, the capital of South Kivu. You're not able to travel there. How do you work in those conditions? Are you going to ask for access to those areas?
Well, I went myself to those areas before the latest outbreak of violence. I went there even with ministers a couple of years ago. The team have been there since October. But of course, it's challenging. But we have managed to work with all the difficulties in other parts of the world where we're not allowed access. It's difficult. We need partnerships. We need engagements. But we're also trying to use different types of investigative techniques to ensure that there can be accountability. And we've done that in other situations. We will keep trying to do it here. And one hopes, of course, that, peace, some kind of ceasefire can take place, but irrespective of that, we're moving forward to the best of our abilities to apply the law.
Right. You're coming to Kinshasa and speaking out. Isn't this also sending a warning to the rebels, the warlords, to stop the fighting right now? Because obviously doing justice after the fighting is one thing. There we're in the middle of the fights.
Well, you're absolutely right. I gave a statement 2 weeks ago calling for evidence and information. We have OTP link. I was requesting support from all quarters, states, NGO, individual victims, anybody with access to an internet can use OTP link from any country of the world, from the DRC, to give us information. But in that, I also expressed extreme concern over what we were seeing, what we were reading, what we were analyzing, and made it clear that all parties to the conflict have obligations. We're applying the law equally. We're trying to apply the law consistently across situations that we're involved in. We're involved in situations all over the world. And I think absolutely people should be on notice that the law has rules. And even in conflict, people should not be so bold as to disregard the law, because we have to find a way to enforce it. And this is a task of my office. It's a task of the ICC. We need more resources, but it's fundamentally a responsibility of states to practice what they preach, to make sure they enforce these rules, because at this moment, with the international rules-based system, with international architecture under siege, it should not lessen our resolve. It should force us to strengthen our sinews to ensure that the law is seen all over the world to mean something for people that are under attack, that are in terror, at the hands of men with guns who are trying to grab whatever they can, exploit whatever they can exploit. And either we're going to go to this Wild West that is not only in the DRC, but in other parts of the world, or we're going to stand firm and say, we are in 2025, we're going to find a way to bring a new life, a new lease of life to the law and its relevance to people. If we think the law is relevant to lawyers, we've lost. We need to realize justice is the birthright of every citizen every individual on this planet. And if we feel that keenly, I think we'll apply the law more effectively than as if it's an abstract principle that is being applied to strangers. We're all affected.
Very
in Paris
quick.
And in Kinshasa.
Very quickly, the Trump administration has slapped sanctions on you because of your decision, the court's decision to issue an arrest warrant against the Israeli Prime Minister and its former defense minister. Is it a death sentence for the court, as some other countries might say, it's a political body, it's biased, let's not abide by the ICC?
Well, I have a warrant for my arrest issued by President Putin, and I have sanctions against me by President Trump's executive order. I'm the only person sanctioned at the moment. I think we keep doing our job. We have a mandate, 125 states of the world, France included, but in all hemispheres, in all regions, have signed up to the Rome Statute. We look to them to protect the court that they built. States have to decide for themselves what versions of themselves they wish to project. And we're trying to do our job, and we'll keep on trying to endeavour to apply the law despite the inclement weather that we experience at the moment.
Karim Khan, I want to thank you for being our guest from Kinshasa and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And thank you all for watching this interview.